Part 1, this is where it all starts. The biggest question people have is, what is the first step? What do I do first? And that's this, a solid pre-approval. A lot of people hear the word pre-approval and they're like, okay, what does that all mean? How do I do the pre-approval? Some people call it a pre-qual or a pre-qualification, okay? What this step is and how important this is you reach out to a lender, and not just a lender. People want to know a bank, a credit union, a mortgage company. Which one do I pick? Let's talk about it. Picking the right lender and the right pre-approval and doing it solidly is going to be what everything comes down to. So, a lot of times people will ask around, get some advice from some people that have already done it and say, who did you pick? Some people will go on Google and get some reviews and research and search some lenders and find their reviews and find, a little bit about them. It could be a lot of work for you. And that's a lot of times where people get stressed out. And a lot of times they'll just go right into their local bank where they have their checking account with. This can be a little bit troublesome. A lot of banks and a lot of credit unions don't have all the options. They have about half of them, right? It's kind of like going to a hardware store that's a small one versus a big one, a big national hardware store. You usually can get all the options there most of the time. So this is where you got to be very, very detailed and dialed in. What I would recommend doing is reaching out to a couple friends and family and asking them who they've used. And if you can get a couple recommendations, write those down. I would also Google and research top lenders in my area, see who pops up. That can give you a little bit of research. You don't have to call everyone. That's where it could be stressful. Get about a list of 2 or 3 and see who have all been maybe a top recommendation and call 2 to 3. Ask them a couple important questions. I'm buying my first home or my second home. I want to know I'm picking the right person. I want the right rates and programs, but I also want really good customer service and a good experience. Let's talk. You start that off that way, that's huge because you got to combine programs, rates, and fees of finding a good deal there, but also your experience, your customer service, and how you're going to feel at the end with their communication. It's got to come together. And where a lot of people go wrong is they go just right into where they have their checking account, they dabble through it, stumble upon it, and then they realize they should have, or I wish I would have. Don't do that. Do this approach. You do this, it's going to set you up big time. What's going to happen next is once you select the lender you want, they're going to have you fill out an application. It's going to be usually an online application where you're going to type in all of your information, like name, date of birth, where you work, where you lived. This is so important to go all in. You're going to have to make sure you fill this out complete and that you don't miss anything, okay? Once you fill it out complete, it'll push right to that lender so the lender can work up your application. It will pull your credit because that's half the battle, what your credit score is. Don't be afraid by this because your credit score is going to be a big piece of you getting to the next step of if you can buy a home. That's half the battle. The second half is going to be your income and employment, okay? And with that, your lender is going to want to see at a minimum your last 30 days of pay stubs, last 2 years of W-2s and tax returns, last 2 months of bank statements, and any other asset information like retirement, stock, any information that you're going to be using for a down payment. They're going to need these documents, so get them ready in a digital format, online and paperless, PDF saved, so you're going to be able to send those and upload those to your lender. Having this ready to go is going to be huge because your lender is going to want to review it, look it all over to make sure it's legit and that it's all there, and then run your application with the right programs. So the paperwork, the filling out the pre-approval application is how you do your solid pre-approval. Now lastly, to finish and sum this up, it is so important to you. A lot of people don't talk about this. It's part of why this course is so powerful. You are going to need to be dialed in with your interview. When you're going through this with your lender, my income, where I work, how you get paid, is it hourly? Do I always get my 40 hours? How often do I get my overtime? These deep questions of how you're paid, how often you're paid, the types of income you get, and if you've deposited cash into your bank statements, these big questions is where you're going to have to be half of it and be all in when you're talking this through with your lender. A big mistake we see is people skip past this pre-approval process. They go too quick. The lender they pick doesn't ask these deep questions. They get the pre-approval letter. They start shopping for homes. And then after they're already under contract on a home, they start asking for the paperwork. It's kind of like a ass backwards way of doing it. You don't want to have that happen. You want the paperwork up front. You want the questions and going all in, asking the lender, is the way I'm paid okay? I've only been at my job for a little bit. Is that okay? I have these other jobs. Ask questions of is there anything wrong? Could anything blow up? And is my application solid with the way I'm paid? Ask these questions. Go all in. You don't want last minute issues because there are lenders out there, if you don't pick the right ones, they'll go real fast with your pre-approval, send you down the road, and then ask for paperwork later and then say they have a problem. I know that sounds weird, but that does happen. So I don't want it to happen to you. Like I said, I have your back. So make sure this pre-approval process is done very passionately and very diligently with the paperwork. Do that deep interview with your lender and make sure when they send you that pre-approval letter, it is solid and the information won't change with curveball paperwork. I hope this makes sense. This is the first step of the course. On to the next course.